You're listening to the Future Tech Health Podcast with Richard Jacobs. Until I reached age 40, I never realized the obvious, that we all have medical issues, or we at least have a family member or close relation that has, or will have them in the future. Medicine and biological systems are the final frontier. Until we've conquered death, figured out how life began, cured cancer, and understood our purpose in the universe, there's a heck of a lot to talk about when it comes to our health. Future Tech Health means I'll be covering futuristic topics that are actually already in clinical trials, or even starting to appear on shelves or by prescription, or available for your own use. We dive deep into stem cells, CRISPR-Cas9, the science of sleep, epigenetics, medical testing, cancer, ketogenic diets, stem cells, aging, regenerative medicine, and more. My goal for you, the listener, is to learn from these podcasts. You may very well learn something that may change the course of your life for the better, steer you towards a new career, or give you insight into addressing a serious medical problem. Remember, however, this podcast and its content is informational in nature only. No medical, tax, legal, financial, or psychological advice is being given. If you enjoy the podcast, please listen, subscribe, like, and share it with friends. Thank you. Hello, this is Richard Jacobs with the Future Tech and Future Tech Health podcast, and I have Vedrana Högqvist, Tabor. She's the CEO of a company called Boost Thyroid. So I'm going to call her Vedra because it's a little bit easier for my English tongue here, and hopefully that'll work. So Vedra, thanks for coming. How you doing?
Well, thanks for having me here. I'm fine. It's evening in Berlin, so I'm actually quite excited to share a little bit about thyroid journey with you.
Okay. So tell me what got you interested in thyroid? You know, usually it's unfortunately a personal medical problem that gets people involved in medical type companies. So what happened to you?
That's true. So I also have my own selfish reason for doing work in thyroid. I got interested because I have Hashimoto's, an autoimmune thyroid condition, and my patient journey was not very easy. Also, my background is in research. I'm a biomedical researcher, and I think that helped me a lot to understand a little bit more about this disease, and then also a little bit more about how under-researched it is. And I love data. I see great potential of data, that it can speed classic research and provide much needed answers faster for thyroid patients. And I think that that was a starting point. As a patient, I wanted a digital product because I also worked in digital health for a couple of years, and I didn't see any product that would help me. And I wanted an app to track my symptoms on a broader intensity scale and enter and overview my lab tests, get information on the latest research, and then of course also to get reminded to take medication, because that's very important for thyroid patient everyday life. So that was kind of like how I got in. I really wanted to improve my understanding of the condition, and also to get an opportunity to test different lifestyle approaches, which is kind of part of preventive disease management, and to see how they impact my health and well-being. So that's basically what got me started and what got me to start creating Boost Thyroid app.
So what's involved in Hashimoto's for people that don't understand? What does the condition do, and what are the results?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I have to say that it's really large number of people living with autoimmune conditions. There are 350 million people worldwide living with autoimmune conditions. So even if you do not personally have an autoimmune condition, people you love and care about might have it. And the most common, the most frequent autoimmune condition is called Hashimoto's. By autoimmune condition, that means that own immune system is slowly eating up, destroying my thyroid gland and making it underactive. And thyroid is an energy factory of the body. So if it's not able to work and produce hormones that will make me function on a daily basis, that will make my metabolism go on, then I will have quite a lot of symptoms. Some people report over 100 symptoms that are connected to an underactive thyroid. and I will not be able to function properly. So there are quite a lot of problems, and Hashimoto's is a lifelong condition. It gets worse with age. It's currently incurable. It affects predominantly women, which is also quite close to my heart. It's under-researched, and as such, there are no good preventive management strategies in place. So I'm always trying to compare type 2 diabetes if there would be no preventive strategies. So if there would be no lifestyle or so basically if there would be no lifestyle, no diet, no exercise interventions, if doctors would just tell to people, come back in 6 months and we will see how much worse are you getting and we are going to ramp up your medication. That's happening with Hashimoto's and with underactive thyroid. That's kind of what the current state of healthcare is doing towards that. Of course, there are some wonderful medical doctors that are doing really much more than that. But our idea with Boost Thyroid was to counteract this. This is why we built it.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of women that have underactive thyroids or Hashimoto's. They're told by their doctors, "Oh, you're in range, you're fine," no matter how they feel. So do you see that for people that have Hashimoto's or other thyroid conditions, low thyroid, that if they're in the range set by the lab that they test that most medical practitioners say, "Oh, you're fine"?
Yeah, that happens quite frequently. I think that I don't want to put blame on physicians, because there is actually I don't think that there is blame on them. What I actually see is this misconception that doctors don't care by patients, and then by certain doctors that thyroid patients are too demanding. And there is a big divide between doctors and patients, and a lack of understanding between them. And that gives rise to mistrust and a lot of frustration. And we have worked with both sides. So we see that both doctors and patients do have the same goal, and that's help patients feel their best. But the problem is how to get there. And while doctors, they must follow certain procedures and use reliable peer-reviewed research publications and practice guidelines, and these take time to kind of like publish. The research takes time. Patients have actually the freedom to trust, well, whomever they want. And the lack of research is making doctors or physicians' hands tied. A lack of research means less scientific findings, less novel insights on the mechanism of condition, on what actually these ranges mean. Like, is it applicable to entire population, or kind of how can we go in a more individualized treatment options? And this makes then this big divide between doctors and patients. I don't think the doctors do that on purpose, or that they are like the evil counterpart of this equation. They're just doing the best that they can with the information that they have from the research. So if we want to kind of put a blame on, if something is faulty in this entire kind of like huge thyroid field, then it's a lack of research, lack of research interest in thyroid, in autoimmune thyroid conditions, in basically health complications that are arising from autoimmune thyroid conditions. So that's the big problem. So of course there will be medical doctors that will follow guidelines, and as a consequence of that, certain patients will definitely feel mistreated. I don't want to say mistreated, but they will not feel treated the way that they wanted to be treated.
So, is there any research into thyroid, or not much?
There is. There is not that much research in thyroid. So basically, I spent 15 years as a research scientist. I did different topic. I did cancer immunology, and that was field that was basically proliferating with scientific publications. There were tens of thousands of scientific publications, so sometimes it was very hard to follow. And now in the thyroid field, there are some publications, but we just published an Instagram post where we found that there were approximately 150 research publications done on Hashimoto's and thyroid in the past year. And that number might not mean a lot, but if you compare it to 25,000 publications that were published on diabetes alone during that year, then you get the difference in magnitude of research interest that is pushed towards diabetes and that is pushed towards Hashimoto's and underactive thyroid. So there is research, but it's not enough. There has to be much more research in order for progress for us patients actually to feel this progress.
And within the research, can you tell what the focus is of the thyroid research? What are people looking at? Are they looking at Hashimoto's? Are they looking at other areas of thyroid?
That's a very good question, and I think it's also very dispersed. So they are looking in Hashimoto's. They are looking. Basically, there was a very recent research publication saying that people should be treated less with levothyroxine, that they start treatment too early. I don't agree with that paper because they used experience of only 2 patients, for example, and also they did not take in consideration that thyroid stimulating hormone, which is the number 1 blood test that it's done, it's actually tied with T4, so thyroxine value. So they didn't, for example, test these 2 values as connected. They tested them as separate values. So I think that, for example, this research is also very dangerous for patients that are desperately in need of treatment and of medical attention. These patients that are now going to fall through the gaps of that type of research will not get any medical attention. So that's kind of bad. But then there is also a lot of research that is trying to connect Hashimoto's with other autoimmune conditions like multiple sclerosis or rheumatoid arthritis or diabetes type 2. So there are these overlapping autoimmune conditions that happen in one person. And it's known that if a person has one autoimmune condition, that actually risk for developing a second autoimmune condition is close to 10 times higher. So there is some research interest there. Then there is a research interest, of course, in one of the bigger health complications that are coming from undiagnosed and untreated Hashimoto's/underactive thyroid, and these are fertility problems in women. So there is research on that as well. But again, this research is done on either very small number of people or it's done on a very niched subject, and then it's not expanded further. And as a researcher, I really feel that we need more power in research, and kind of we need patients to push that also. They are the biggest and the best force that can push research forward.
Okay, so what is Boost Thyroid? What's the premise of the company?
What's the premise of the company? Well, basically, what we wanted to do, our idea was to, as I said, to counteract this lack of research knowledge, the health complications that are arising from reactive management and not preventive management. This is why we started building Boost Thyroid. So it's a free mobile app and a community for people with Hashimoto's and an underactive thyroid. And we are building a personalized AI coach to bring patients and research together to create better health outcomes. So we aim to help by providing scientifically vetted information, strengthening thyroid patients' communities, supporting research, developing new technological approaches to improve better personalized healthcare, and improving patient-doctor conversation. I mean, you can check more on our website, boostthyroid.com, if I may say that. But I think that was the premise, really, from the research and from patient perspective on Boost Thyroid.
So who should use the app? People that suspect they have low thyroid, or people that have been formally diagnosed with low thyroid or Hashimoto's, or who should use it?
I think that both people that suspect that they have, even if later by after medical checkup it's shown that they are not having, actually that's also success. So if actually people come to the app, they will be asked series of questions on their symptoms or on their blood tests and their experiences, and they will be already put in different groups according to their risk, and then they will be led further in the app where they can track their symptoms on a daily basis based on the intensity. They can choose from 20 different symptoms which one they want to track. And they can actually, people that are not diagnosed, people that have not gone to the doctor, this is a way for them to prepare for doctor's visit. So this is something that we are developing with medical doctors, and we have talked a lot to them also to figure out how can we speed up the diagnosis of Hashimoto's, because I think that's also one of the very important aspects, that this disease takes years to be diagnosed, and during these years it actually body gets destroyed. So how can we also prevent that? Then also patients that are, for example, newly diagnosed or already diagnosed since some time ago, they can enter their thyroid lab test. They can read scientifically vetted information. They get it either as long texts or as snippets of information on each symptom and each supplement and medication that they are taking. So that's something that they can do within the app. We also support research, so we are pushing surveys that basically people can opt in if they want to answer or not, and all of this research will then be analyzed together with one of our collaborators, and we hope to publish findings on that very soon.
So what happens if people put their thyroid numbers in the app? You know, what kind of information do they put in, and what does it do for them? It just tells them here's some research, or does it tell them, hey, you may want to look at taking levothyroxine, or what does it tell them to do?
We are not advising. We are not yet medical grade app, so we will not diagnose or advise people to take certain medication. People can enter their basically their demographic data, their health status, and then their daily symptom and lifestyle tracking. And we actually give them summary of their tracking, so summary of their well-being. They can see, are they progressing towards better, or are they stagnating, or is their condition worsening than the last 7 days or last month. They can choose which time frame to compare. So that's basically what they can do now. And then also after each tracking, the app, the engine of the app finds what the engine thinks is the best possible information for this particular person, and then it delivers it, and that's like 1 or 2 sentence, something that is connected to a condition. So it can be around the treatment, it can be around the weight management, it can be around the certain supplements, it can be around how to beat fatigue, etc. So that's something that people will get on a daily basis, and they can tell us or tell the app if they like it or not. So then the engine will try to find the best possible information for people.
Does it have a spot where you can put in the medications you're taking?
Yeah, you can put in medications, you can put dose, you can put brand, because also thyroid medication is generic, so there are a lot of brands. And you can input your start and end date of taking medication. So there is also a sort of diary type of thing where you can enter both medication and supplements which you are taking.
So what's an example of what the app would do? Let's say I put in that I have thyroid antibody levels of a certain amount, and they're high. I put that in the app. What does the app do? Does it tell me that high thyroid antibody levels could be linked with Hashimoto's? Here's a paper on it, or what would it do in that instance? Right?
No, it would not give you paper on it. We found that it's better to give simpler but always scientifically referenced information to people than to give them scientific papers that are sometimes behind a paywall. So if you start using the app and if you put your thyroid antibodies that are above certain level, let's say above 40 or 45, then it would actually, the engine would tell you that this indicates Hashimoto's, but it would also, before doing that, it would ask you about certain symptoms. So it would tie that together, basically tell you what are the most common symptoms of Hashimoto's and what are the most common symptoms of underactive thyroid, because these things are not always, Hashimoto's and underactive thyroid are not always interchangeable terms. So it would try to tell you this, but then, of course, after entering certain antibody level, it would tell you if it's over the limit that is considered to be an autoimmune condition. There are, of course, still things that we need to fine tune, because in periods of high stress, antibodies can go high and then they can go lower. So that's also something that we need to figure out. We do disclaim, we do say that there are other conditions that might cause elevations in thyroid. So we try to really be very transparent and tell to people everything that we know from scientific research. We just don't shower them with scientific papers. We distill that information and write it in a user-friendly way for them. So basically making it a little bit easier to navigate through that.
How do you tell them what something could be when not provide advice at the same time? Is it just the language you use, or how do you make that distinction?
Well, I think that advice would be, hey, you have Hashimoto's, so you should start taking this medication. What we can tell is that according to scientific research, there are 5 different conditions that might be connected to this. And the only thing that we say is that the only person that can actually diagnose for now is medical healthcare practitioner. So we are not advising people to take supplements. We are not advising people to take medication. We are not advising people also to undertake certain lifestyle, but we provide them information from scientific research that we found in PubMed, and that can basically help them to understand the magnitude of this condition, that it's very complex, that there are a lot of facets. So I think that we give them also quite a good start point to talk to their healthcare practitioners, because they can be ready and they can ask questions and have really even conversation, and they can be active participant in shared decision making with their healthcare practitioner.
So what's the future of the app? What do you want to do with it? You want to make it? You mentioned a medical grade app. What is that, and is that your goal?
Yeah, that would be definitely our goal. We want to bring it to that level. I think that what we have seen also with current digitalization of healthcare and current availability of sensors and smartphones that are getting cheaper and smaller and have better computing power, and that can help us to track and share data from wherever in the world we are. I think that that type of power gives us a massive head start when thinking of developing tools and solutions for early disease diagnosis and preventive management of chronic conditions with the minimum or no need to go to doctor's office. So us patients can actually monitor ourselves and have live feed to our doctor's office wherever we might be. This means that wherever in the world we are, as long as we are connected to the internet, we can have the same quality and continuum of care. And I think that that's something where we with Boost Thyroid definitely want to tap in. This vast data that we are already collecting has the power to upgrade current health. And I think that basically the part where we are working is getting more and more immersed in digitalization. Patients have more power because of this digitalization. We can have health information. We can use our data to power research. This is a fantastic opportunity for not only Hashimoto's, but for all the other long ignored conditions. So I think that this is where Boost Thyroid will continue to be a leading light for thyroid conditions. that's basically where we want to go. We want to go more medical, but we definitely want to power research. This is where we see that we can help this to cross this huge gap in lack of knowledge that is currently there.
Well, what about the data that's entered into the app? Are you able to pseudonymize it and supply it to researchers? Is there any interaction there?
Yeah, we are having several research collaborations. So, of course, this is also what we have in our terms and service and privacy policy, saying that we are going to conduct research. Mostly what we do is we do it inside the company, so inside Boost Thyroid, but we are having external collaborators. So one is at University of Oxford, but we have also here at Berlin at Charité. Okay, that's not that known to the US listeners, but it's a very big university hospital. We have collaborators at Northeastern. So all of these collaborators and us, they are mostly also patients, Hashimoto's patients, which is I think remarkable. And I think we all really see this gap in knowledge, and we are so interested to kind of like contribute with the data that we collect and with knowledge as researchers that we have to actually really push the management of Hashimoto's, the health management of Hashimoto's in the preventive lane. So now it's really this old-fashioned way of treating it. So this data that we are collecting is not sitting idly. We really use it for betterment of patients. And of course, it's always anonymized, de-identified. We never use single data point from single person. So we are really very careful with how we use the data.
Okay. Well, very good. So Vedra, it's available for what, Android and iOS, or where can people get the app?
So unfortunately, the app is not available for Android yet, but we are working on that. So app is available for iOS, so on iPhones as a free-to-use app, so we don't charge it. We are fortunate enough to be supported by German Ministry of Education and Research and European Commission. We have gotten quite good research and development grants, and that means that we can actually provide this tool and this solution for patients for free.
Well, very good. Well, Vedra, thank you for coming on the podcast. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, and best of luck.
You're listening to the Future Tech Health Podcast with Richard Jacobs. Until I reached age 40, I never realized the obvious, that we all have medical issues, or we at least have a family member or close relation that has, or will have them in the future. Medicine and biological systems are the final frontier. Until we've conquered death, figured out how life began, cured cancer, and understood our purpose in the universe, there's a heck of a lot to talk about when it comes to our health. Future Tech Health means I'll be covering futuristic topics that are actually already in clinical trials, or even starting to appear on shelves or by prescription, or available for your own use. We dive deep into stem cells, CRISPR-Cas9, the science of sleep, epigenetics, medical testing, cancer, ketogenic diets, stem cells, aging, regenerative medicine, and more. My goal for you, the listener, is to learn from these podcasts. You may very well learn something that may change the course of your life for the better, steer you towards a new career, or give you insight into addressing a serious medical problem. Remember, however, this podcast and its content is informational in nature only. No medical, tax, legal, financial, or psychological advice is being given. If you enjoy the podcast, please listen, subscribe, like, and share it with friends. Thank you.